Welcome to the Own Your Best Life podcast. I'm May Emson, your host, leadership and mindset coach. Here, we talk all things spiritual, mindset, business, leadership, and wellness for the modern seeker who wants to align their life with purpose and inspiration. We'll cover career changes, stress management, meditation, energy, intuition, and more. Each episode holds spiritual and practical tools to help you live a life of your wildest dreams without getting burnt out along the way. Ready to live a life on your own terms? This is the Own Your Best Life podcast. Welcome, friends, to episode number 150 of the Own Your Best Life podcast. So we live in a culture of scarcity where we feel like we're always coming up against not having enough. And one of the biggest things we feel a not enoughness with is time. We don't feel like we have enough time. We don't have time for our relationships. Our to-do lists seem never ending. And how do we actually take care of our health in the time that we have? So today we will create more time in your life so you can take a breath, you can enjoy life a bit more. So I often notice that the first thing we wake up thinking about is all the things we have to do and the things we haven't done. And I know that no matter where I was in my life, I always have felt some version of this. Before kids, after kids, we use the time we have. We are always feeling stretched. And this is how I know that time scarcity is so pervasive and it's so real. So have you ever heard the saying, you can never be too skinny or too rich? Well, it's based on that premise that enoughness is always beyond the cognitive horizon, which means that it's always past the point in which we can actually have it. So I used to think that the reason that other people are successful or more successful or have more of something that I don't is because of the amount of time they have to do the things they need to do. They have the time to answer their emails. They have less on their plate. They don't have to do the work that I have to do. They don't have the personal demands that I might have. And when other people would say things like, well, prioritize or do what's most important, I would think to myself, yes, I'm doing that already. What I didn't realize was that behind those words were more edgy thoughts. Edgy thoughts that I didn't have when I actually felt time scarcity. Edgy thoughts like, this is enough. Or, I know what I'm working on and I know what's most important. Or this is the right thing to be doing right now. What is what would come up? Like, what? How could that be enough? Like, how could you actually think those things? How do I know this is right? So my brain was telling me all the things that haven't yet been done and could be done. How to make this thing even better. How to make other people feel better because I'm doing everything they want me to do. I'm doing even more. Right? Questioning the decisions I've made and wanting to go back and change things. Oh, did I choose the right path? Maybe I should have done this differently. That's what comes up against these more edgier thoughts about enoughness. I know what I'm working on. I know what's most important. I know this is most important. I know this is the right thing to be doing right now. So I want you to consider that you may have some perfectionist tendencies. And if you do, they create not just procrastination, right? Because it's got to be perfect, but it also creates this feeling of scarcity. You might not see yourself as a procrastinator, but you might be procrastinating these edgier thoughts like this is enough. That is a form of procrastination, of just saying, well, that's a little hard to deal with. That's not exactly where I want, you know what, I'm just going to put it off. So you're procrastinating the feeling of enoughness. You're putting something else in front of it and you're pushing it out beyond the cognitive horizon. And you're going to see the same thought cut through your whole life. It's one of the reasons why we eat in ways that seem like they're tied to emotional highs or emotional lows. It's why we need big, long breaks. It's why we react. It's why we swing back and forth on a pendulum of life's highs and lows. So I want to break down what you can actually do right now to create more time. And this is a series of steps I'm going to walk you through. So I'm going to start with the awareness of time. First and foremost, you're looking for where you actually have time that isn't being utilized the way you want. You don't have to do things during that time, but you see there is time and that exists. And this is where tracking your time is really helpful, seeing how much time you have when you wake up and every small transition period between that and the next thing you do. What are you thinking about? And how long does it take for you to wake up? What do you do after that? Are you thinking and just being in the moment? What about the next thing after that, then the next thing? And you'll often find if you actually, even if you start with an hour period of the day when you wake up, or a period where you feel extremely crunched, maybe wake up times, transition times, getting out the door times, coming back home times, evening, all of that. If you actually look at that and you start and not just say this is like my ideal and this is what I would be doing, but you actually look at the clock and you say, oh, this is this time and this is what I'm doing and this is what I'm feeling in that moment, you're going to start to notice the low-hanging fruit. You might find these pockets of time that you aren't really using as intentionally, and then you're going to be like, okay, actually, maybe I do have time. I have 10 minutes here, 15 minutes here, 20 minutes there. That adds up. Hour a day, right? What could be done in an hour every single day if you actually found that in your life? And for the most part, it does exist in some form or another. The second thing I want to share is that next step, which is the pause. And it's called the pause and the first step. So the second thing is to actually spend time the way you want in the time that does already exist. So you found the time, now it's time to use it well. You would think this is the easy part, but this requires going up against the voices of what is right and wrong ways to spend time and the thoughts of what else could be done. Is this productive enough? I can't do this until this happens, right? I can't rest until the house is clean. I can't finish this thing until I finish that thing. And this is where you just take the first step. You make the transition and you say, I have this time. I remember it was a pocket of time I had, and I do the first step. Maybe it's I open an email. Maybe it's not opening an email. Maybe it's putting your shoes on so you get out the door. Maybe it is sitting down so you can be present wherever you are. Maybe it's standing up so you're ready for the next thing. Maybe it's stop working, and you maybe even have the opportunity to pause and listen to the person speaking in your ear or in front of you. You take a breath, and this is where a pause has to happen. When we think about time and how we spend it is a pattern and a habit, and all the patterns and habits that we run lead us to the things that we have in our lives. So if we feel time scarcity, it's because there's certain habits of how we think, feel, and behave with time that change our perception and our reality. So interrupting patterns, stopping patterns, breaking patterns so that you can create new ones requires stopping. It seems too simple just to stop, but it's exactly what you need to do. You pause, you remove your figurative hands or your minds off the thing at hand. And even 1 second will do it, but just pause. And when you do that, you can make that transition to the next thing on purpose. And I remember that there was a time when I was struggling with being on time. And I remember that the thought that was consistent for me, which led to me being late to the next thing, was this idea that what I'm doing right now is more important. but it's a very limited view because obviously when you look down the line, you're like, actually, that next thing probably was even more important. But there's a feeling of incompleteness that is hard to get past. And one of the best ways that I found to actually overcome that feeling of incompleteness is to actually know that that feeling of incompleteness completes the cycle of you working on it. Like, it's almost like instead of being like, oh, because I feel that way, it means I should keep working. It's like, no, because I feel that way, that's the time to stop. Because I feel like I need to keep going, I need to pause. This is at the root of when we move into kind of these addictive patterns as well. This feeling of need, when I need it, is almost like when I need to release the grip even more. So even if you give yourself like a break that's like a 5-minute break, you're allowing yourself to remove that kind of hyper-focused attention that is great when this is the exact time and place you need to be. But sometimes we need to move on. Sometimes we need to make it to that next thing. Sometimes we need to just show up for other people, if not even ourselves, at a specific time and place. Sometimes we just need to start something that is actually really important. And the pause, the break, the knowing that the incomplete feeling is the completion of that cycle, because as soon as you start to feel that, it's time to get off the train. So that's like a small mindset hack that has worked for me, because it helped me realize that I will never be in this place where I would feel complete with everything. There's just no way. There's just way too many things that I'm very aware of that could all be done at this very moment. So the ability then to say, okay, which one right now and then which one next has allowed me to stay very present in the moment, even when I lose track of time, even when I feel like, oh, what's happening? Oh, what's the next thing? Oh, okay, gotta move on to this thing next. When you're in that cycle, you're already aware, okay, a little bit of incompleteness is just where we're going to be at. All right. Now, that next step is to keep redirecting back. So you're going to get distracted in life, not just because something else occurs, but because your mind wanders. I'm talking now about you're now taking the break, you're moving on into the next thing, and you're going to start thinking about, well, what else I could be doing instead of this very thing. So you're going to want to detour once again and drift and start doing other things instead. Nothing wrong has occurred. When you catch yourself not using time the way you want, you just go back to it. The other redirection is to actually tell yourself that this is what matters. So your brain will just tell you things. And when I say keep redirecting, it's not just physically redirecting. You might just redirect your brain to be like, oh, right. No. We said this. This is what matters. This is what I decided. And this is what I'm willing to do right now until you're done. This is why writing things down that you have to do is very helpful. This is why making lists, this is why scheduling your time is helpful. Not because you need to have every single thing planned and you execute perfectly according to plan, but you're just intentional about what you think is the important thing. And then you question yourself if you decide to detour. At least you had some consciousness as you were making some of these decisions. No, I'm not asking anyone, and nor anyone should be probably executing everything perfectly, because life is way more dynamic. The whole point of a plan is to direct your minds toward something. You're allowed to redirect it back towards that same thing, or if something actually has changed, you change with it, right? But you're conscious in that change, you're aware in that change, and that is the most important thing. So what you're trying to say to yourself is, I'm actually going to try and do the thing because I said I wanted to, because there's a real reason for doing it. And when it's done, I can go back, I can evaluate, see if this works, but only after I've done it. And that keeps you out of the inefficiencies that happen even when you're in a place where you start doing the thing that you wanted to do. We say that we'll start that hairy, nebulous task, but then we open it up and then we don't know what to do. So then we just start doing something else because you saw something that triggered something else. Like your brain just kind of moves on into another place. This is all normal again. You aren't doing anything wrong. You're human. Creating more time means coming back again and again and again to what's important by telling yourself that you want to use your time well. And this very thing you're trying to do, the thing that you want to do with the time, that is important. All right, once you do that, you're going to increase the quality of your time. That is like the fourth thing that you're going to move into. Once you know that you're practicing the redirection back, okay, keep coming back to what's important. I know what's important. I want you to start thinking about how do I increase the quality of my time. I found that it isn't what you do during the time, it's how you're experiencing what you do in that time that matters. So time is this construct of the mind. It is a feeling. 24 hours can feel long when you're experiencing pain and suffering and heartache. And that same 24 hours can feel really short when you're experiencing awe and joy and love. What can you do to release the pain and suffering you're feeling right now? That's how you increase the quality of your time. What can you do to appreciate what you have right now? And if you can answer these questions, that's going to increase the quality of your time because you stop thinking that whatever you're doing isn't good. You stop having those judgmental thoughts about what is happening or not happening. You're present, you're in the moment. And without questioning and asking yourself these things, how can I release some of the pain? How can I release that suffering? You're just going to end up in this place where you aren't really present. You're going to be wishing you weren't doing whatever you're doing. And if you really start to be in this place of looking at the quality of the experience that you're having, you're going to end up becoming more and more in flow states where time seems suspended because you're working on things that feel freeing. Time flies, but it's not a problem. Time expands. It's also not a problem. You're just attending to exactly what you need to attend to without questioning or creating additional pressure. So many moments of our day are spent in forward thinking, which is not wrong, but you just have to ask yourself, like, to what extent is this useful, where you're thinking about your future and what else has to be done, what else has to be done, what else has to be done, but you're not attending to it. It's not useful. Like, you're thinking about it, but there's nothing to actually do about it, or there's nothing that would change your decision about it. You're just putting into place almost like a track of what else has to be done, what else has to be done, this has to be done, I know this because I live it and I've lived it, right? So I have to constantly also track my brain to say, redirect back, we're here, we're now, we're doing this thing, this is what's important. That track will play. There's also that backwards track that we play, the one of, how did that go? What did I say? What did I do then? What was that going to be? I wish I did it differently. I wonder what they're thinking now. Again, if you do that because you have an intention for it to be used purposefully, then you're actually just evaluating. But if you are using it and it keeps playing and there's nothing to do about it, it's rumination. And so we want to create time by removing the amount of time that we spend thinking about things over and over and over again that may not matter. There's a lot of time that we spend just fixating on things, just kind of fine-tuning, kind of poking around at stuff, right? You go back into a file and you like do a few things. This is very different than when you're very clear, here's the exact conversation I need to have. Here's exactly what I'm going to say. I'm going to say it. It's going to happen. I'm probably going to feel all sorts of feelings. I'm going to keep moving on. and then keep going to the next thing, because guess what? It's happened, and now the next thing is present in front of me, and I'm dealing with it now. Versus, I'm dealing with the thing right now, but I'm also thinking about the next thing and the thing after that and the thing after that. So what we're doing probably right now isn't really effective. It's probably not being done at a level that's using a higher quality of thinking that would reduce the amount of time and effort that you actually spend, because you're diverting resources through all this track thinking, right? Forward thinking, back thinking, just running these tracks in your brain. So when we think about creating more time and we think about increasing the quality of the time that you have today, you will know it, because you'll feel that you're very focused on one thing right now, lightly. But when you have that light touch, it doesn't mean that you're in all the other places thinking about all the other things. You're in a light touch because you know that, guess what? The next moment, something else is going to come up. So you're here right now for what you need to attend to, and you're here in the next moment for the next thing you need to attend to. So those are the steps to create more time. There's obviously lots of tactics that I cover in other podcasts around time blocking, rewarding yourself, making other things more fun. All those things are still very, very helpful. But this one is really about starting with awareness, really looking for the small ways in which time is adding up in your life that you would like to spend differently. This is now about then moving to taking a pause and that first step. And once you do that, redirecting your attention back to what you want to do during that time and the decisions that you've made about that time. And then you can look at increasing the quality of your time by accepting how this is exactly what you need to be experiencing right now, because you are, and reducing the amount of suffering that comes with thinking that there is more, there is better out there. And the paradox is that you will do more, you will do better when you have the least amount of resistance to what you're currently doing and experiencing now. And I want you to consider that this time scarcity is the perfect problem for you to have right now, because it's challenging you to live life differently, to be more unconventional, to become more aware, to pause, to redirect to what's important, and to increase the quality of how you experience your own life. Who wouldn't benefit from any of these things? So this is why life and this work of living is a practice. You're never done. You're just going deeper. You're experiencing more, which is really a beautiful thing, because we have a finite time being alive here as humans. So instead of distracting yourself, you're actually deepening yourself. And it comes with realizing that some things aren't working the way we want them to, and then doing something about them. All right. So if you are ready to put this into practice, start with something today that you know you would love to find time for. Have something that you're like, oh, if I had an extra hour today, this is what I would do. And then work the plan that I laid out through that, and just see how that changes the quality of your day. Do it with just one day. I'm not asking you to do this for the rest of your life. Just try it for one day. See how it changes the quality of your experience with that day. See how much time you end up finding. See how much awareness you build. And then if it works well and you want to keep going, just keep doing it. Remember, I talked about finding these small pockets first. So start with that before you start moving to really thinking about the quality of the time and increasing how you feel and the quality of your experience during that time. All right. Now that you've got that, and I am really excited because I get to share with you a masterclass that I just did last week about figuring out what is next. So if you are ready to think about and figure out what's next, you're going to want to sign up for the replay of this masterclass, figuring out what's next. So you can go to the link in the show notes to sign up, and you can learn the 3 phases of where you're at in your life in your career, crossroads, and what you want to do in each phase and why. I will share what I've learned from coaching achievers through these crossroads, what some people end up doing, why it doesn't work, and what you can do differently instead. You can also learn about the next enrollment of Spiritual Achiever Coaching, which is happening right now. And you can schedule a consultation for coaching at mayemson.com/contact. And you will learn more about how to achieve your biggest goals without burning out, how to have both meaning and success, how to figure out what is next. And we're going to create goals across spirituality, achievement, your working career, your earth energy, which is your mind, body practices, and harmony, which is your relationships. And it is the powerful group and private coaching hybrid experience for achievers who want to expand their vision of what's possible, to live more deeply, to have better conversations with themselves and the people around them. This is 12 months of support, individualized guidance, and community with an amazing group of people that is extremely high quality and unlike ones you will find almost anywhere. It will include retreats and coaching, and you can do it from anywhere around the world. And we invite you to learn more about what it looks like at www.mayemson.com/contact. So that is it for this week, my friends. I hope you have an amazing one, and I will talk to you next time. Thanks so much for joining us this week on Own Your Best Life. Make sure to subscribe to the show on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts so that you'll never miss a show. And while you're at it, can you please rate and review on iTunes? I would so appreciate it. Share it with a friend, take a screenshot of it, and tag @MayEmson. This helps continue to get the word out. For more show notes and resources, check out www.mayemson.com. It'll have all the links to everything you heard here today. Thanks so much for listening. It's time to own your best life.